Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're reviewing The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, one of my favorite authors in the game, Master Grimdark himself. Overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and we're gonna get into it. You should read this and I don't usually do this, but I'm just gonna read you one sentence from the book. An ineffectual priest, an enervated knight, a misanthropic elf, and an antique vampire. It sounded like the start of a bad joke to which the tragic punchline was yet to be revealed. If that sentence sounds interesting to you or intriguing, then you're going to enjoy this book quite a bit. If you're kind of like on the then this book is going to be to you. Now with Joe Abercrombie books, you're always going to get amazing characters that you will want to engage with, and that continues here. That is his bread and butter. And I have to say, Joe Abercrombie is a master in his craft in terms of character arcs, mini character arcs, longer character arcs in general. He's very strategic and meticulous. It's like he knows which traits to give a certain character and how to overcome those traits so that that character develops into something that we can admire or can invest in or put some energy into that change. And that shines again here. One of the ways I can paraphrase this book, this is maybe the goodest good book I've read in a long time. 3.5 out of 5, meaning it's good, it's above average. It's not mind-blowing or captures me like the first law in any way, and there are some problems in this, but overall, I mean, Joe Abercrombie's prose and dialogue and characters aren't bad. There's nothing on this book that you can point out as being below average. Everything is just at average, and then how people respond to that will just depend on your taste. There's a lot of that snippy, witty humor here, kind of like that Avengers type humor, which my eyes kind of took away from some special character moments from time to time. Didn't make me, I was like, I'll come on, let them have their moments. So that snippy behavior, that Avengers type kind of humor, Marvel humor, can get a little bit tiresome. And there's something about the familiarity of the setting. Perhaps there's that kind of like Suicide Squad band gets together, bad guys get together to do good. That kind of trope has been overdone in recent years, which is maybe why not so many people were so absolutely absolved by this, including myself. But anyway, there's going to be a lot to like here. I mean, I think this is also a good entry point to fantasy in general. I think maybe if you're like kind of not sure if you want to get into First Law, don't know if you want to get into Grimdark, this is light enough where you're going to invest yourself in the characters for sure. These are still characters that you can get invested in, so there's still elements of here that people will enjoy this book, and it can be a really good first introduction. So let's get right into it. I gave characters 4 out of 5 stars. Very good. We have a motley crew of characters here, and again, Joe Abercrombie is a master of his craft when it comes to character arcs. You just see like that planting of, gosh, this guy's an asshole, or I hate that this character does that. But he finds a way. He's so strategic with this arc of these characters, each one like with parallel and these kinds of things. So those arcs are something you invest in, and another thing he's a master at is creating separate voices for all the characters, so each character narrative or point of view feels completely unique. You have a werewolf who can be very bloodthirsty, and her personality shines through her POV. Each POV feels completely distinct, and that's something Joe Abercrombie is always going to be a master at. So with characters, this is definitely very enjoyable. Some of the, I think, to some detriment, things were always just too much of that Marvel humor and took away some from character moments. And there wasn't always like this amazing amount of depth, but some of these characters really surprised you. And I have to say, there was a couple moments here where I was like almost shedding a tear. Shout out Sunny and the princess. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's just some special moments. And again, I think just that kind of setting of the Suicide Squad getting together, the baddies kind of getting together to achieve a goal that's all of a sudden kind of morally good. The Suicide Squad getting together, just getting a little bit tiresome. This setting, this kind of plot narrative, these plot device has been completely overdone, and that's why I think that a lot of people were not super invested in this, and that kind of goes into the world building, which in my opinion is the weakest element of this book, which I gave 3.25 out of 5. And you basically have an alternate history, religious component, world building setting here. And what I mean by that is you basically have a faith that's very similar to Catholicism, almost kind of like a satire version of it, and an alternative version of history of this where we have locations that are, let's say, very familiar to us, similar in nature and these kinds of things. So this, I'm always kind of weary of these fake fantasy, alternative fantasy historical settings. I'm not usually a big fan of that, and I can say that again here. So some people might like that, and there's light magic, light fantasy elements, meaning the magic just works. Like there's not something super in depth here. Really, the only thing that is more in depth here is like some of the politics, especially between the churches. But the actual world building, again, the church itself is a cool concept about how these devils or this team exists. That's kind of fun to explore, and seeing how each character has kind of led up to this point and these kinds of things. So, but again, there wasn't a whole lot to invest in, and not something I would be interested in investing in. And again, it's not bad in by any means, and it's not below average. I would say just above average, and probably some people will really enjoy that, some more than others. And that kind of goes into plot and structure, which I gave 3.75 out of 5. I do think this book was about 50 to 75 pages too long. I mean, from the get-go, you kind of already know the direction that this book is going, right? No, it's not any spoiler to say, but you have a group of devils or monsters that get together to complete a mission, and through this mission, they sort of are trying to do the right thing, and some characters have these kind of character progressions, and there are some twists and turns, by the way, that I don't see coming, and I think it's a satisfying ending. Again, a little bit too long, a little bit repetitive. I think maybe one of the kind of adventures could have been cut off with and had the same effect, and just some really sweet character moments. Satisfying character moments, satisfying character arcs, these kinds of things, and kind of a couple twists at the end there that kind of got you going. Oh, that's a satisfying twist. That's a cool badass twist, and how that interacted with certain characters, very satisfying. So again, I think because the world building, the backdrop to me is a little bit weak. It's hard to get super invested, and again, I'm now overdoing it, but just having this kind of setting has been done multiple times, and Joe Abercrombie is the best in terms of character work, as I've said before, so it makes this satisfying. Again, this is a good book. Like, you're going to enjoy it. I do think some people might even love it. I have seen some interviews of people loving it, and I can see why. If you haven't read if you haven't gotten a full sample of like that kind of Marvel banter and Marvel humor, especially in a book setting, you're gonna really enjoy this book. So there's gonna be a lot to enjoy for a lot of people, and I don't think someone will dislike this book. Some people I think will be middle of the road. That kind of goes into prose and dialogue, which I gave 3.75 out of 5. And again, this is a Joe Abercrombie book. The humor is witty, the descriptions are good. I actually want to read you a quote. "You have to treat people like oranges," Gal the Purse always said. "Squeeze what you can from the bastards, then waste no regrets when you toss away the wrung-out skins. You have to treat people like stepping stones, like rungs on your ladder, or you'll wake up one day with nothing but a set of boot prints on your back." Joe Abercrombie knows how to write. Always a pleasure to read. Again, I just think this book is a little bit too long, but that POV, unique character voice, always will shine. I think of First Law in the sense it continues here. He gives every POV something very unique, and just every character arc is just superb. And the dialogue between the two, I do think some of the humor and banter was a bit too much on the top or too much on the nose even. And sometimes it even took away from some certain character moments, in my opinion. So sometimes the prose and dialogue could get a little bit annoying, but this is Joe Abercrombie, so it's going to be super solid and super enjoyable, and some quotes that are going to make you think, some descriptions that will go, oh, okay, and some character moments, the way they talk about certain things, they'll be like, wow. Balthazar, I mean, he's an asshole, but an asshole you end up loving. So again, I really enjoyed myself here, and I think that's a good way to go out on two things, which is fun, 3.75 out of 5. For fun, this is very good. You're going to have a good time reading this. I did catch myself, it took a little bit longer to read than I would have liked, just because I wasn't super invested, but I cannot say I was not having a good time, seeing how each character's unique ability gets used and how each character has their own little character arc inside this book, especially Sonny. I love Sonny's character arc. I love Balthazar's character arc, Jacob's character arc, and just how those character arcs bring out together. It was a lot of fun to see when certain pairs got together. Brother Diaz's character arc, just an enjoyable read overall. Nothing bad to say and nothing extremely great to say. And that kind of goes into emotional impact, which I gave 3.25 out of 5. On retrospect, perhaps I could give it a little bit more, but I think there was some super highs. For me, some characters like Sonny, and even I would even throw Balthazar in there. I really enjoyed his moments. But Sonny for sure, Brother Diaz, absolutely, Viga, but when you're not super invested in the story, that emotional impact throughout the story wasn't always hitting. There was definitely moments I enjoyed reading the characters, but that emotional impact, and there wasn't a lot of thought-provokingness and themes that I was super in-depth in exploring. I was like, after finishing the book, I was like, kind of towards the end, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to read my next book, which was Sun Eater. I'm like, I want to get to Sun Eater now. So in this way, that's why it was just 3.25 out of 5. But anyway, overall, we gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. Please let me know what you guys think. I am definitely going to continue on the series of Mr. Abercrombie Writes. So let's see what happens in the future. Thanks so much.